وعليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين المظلومين. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابنتك المظلومة ذات الآلام الكثيرة في المدة القصيرة. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. To hasten the reappearance of our Imam صاحب العصر والزمان، صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, in his final days gave us a few words that predicted and prophesied what was going to happen after his martyrdom. He looked at his daughter Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam and says, وَإِنِّي لَمَّا رَأَيْتُهَا ذَكَرْتُ مَا يُصْنَعُ بِهَا بَعْدِي. That when I see her, I remember what happens to her after me. What does he say? What is going to happen to Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam? He says, it is as if humiliation will enter her house. The Holy Prophet says, I see this. And her sanctity is violated. And her rights are usurped. Her rights are taken from her. Her inheritance is denied. And then the Prophet says, and then I remember that her ribs are going to be broken. And her child, her unborn child, will be miscarried and killed. This is narrated in the Sunni books as well as our books. And there are numerous narrations that talk about the injustice and the oppression that occurred upon Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. There are many narrations, but unfortunately there is a veil, there is a cover of ambiguity, a cover that does not allow people to see this historic event clearly. It doesn't allow people to comprehend the injustice that Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam experienced. They have made the matter seem very cloudy. And that is why it is important when we look into any historic matter, it is important to look at it using two tools. Not every event is narrated clearly. Not every event is written in a way that everyone can understand it. Some matters require extra care when we read them, extra attention. What are these tools? There's two tools that we must use when we analyze history. Number one is logical analysis of historical events. And number two is the cross-examination of historical clues. We'll begin with the first one after Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Logical analysis. What do I mean by this? Sometimes in our books or in other Islamic books, we find that a narrative is mentioned, we find that a story is told about some sort of historic event, but we are required to understand other things once we read this. What do I mean? Logical analysis. We have to look at any situation logically. When you look at any detective or an investigator, when they go to a crime scene, they don't just wait for one or two people to tell them what happened and they depend on that entirely. What do? They take the witness statements, but then they put everything together like a puzzle. They read all the narratives, but then they use their logic to understand other events that might have taken place without other people telling them. Let's take an example. We read that on the day of Ashura in Karbala, Umar ibn Sa'd ordered for the tents of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to be burnt. Other than that, we have the narration speaks about many other things that took place. However, just by reading this and understanding the story, we can logically understand other events that took place. Like what? Number one, were the women and the children inside the tents when the tents were burnt, or were they outside the tents? Obviously, they weren't inside the tents. They ran into the plains of Karbala. Why do we know this? Because we know that the women and the children after Karbala, they were taken to Kufa and Sham. So obviously they weren't burnt alive. That's one thing we can analyze. The second thing we can analyze is once the tents were burnt, were the enemies just standing and watching, or were they running and chasing the children and the females in the battlefield? When we read the rest of the story, we can tell that there were children that were killed. They were trampled by the horses. So reading the line that says the tents were burnt and just taking that alone without logically thinking about the situation and envisaging the picture in our mind is not enough. Now, logical analysis is this. This is what it requires us to do. The same way that we are required to use logical analysis when we look at these historical events, we must also use صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We must also use the second tool, which is known as cross-examination of historical clues. Cross-examination of historical clues is important to us. Why? Because not every historical event is narrated in one sentence, in one narration, very clearly. Sometimes we must look at clues that are found in our books and other books in order to find out what happened in history. Not every event in history is written out for us to just read and take in. Sometimes there's a clue. Again, going to an investigator or a forensic scientist, what do? They look at a situation, a crime scene. They look for puzzles. They look at pieces to put together to understand what exactly happened. How so? They look for a fingerprint. They look for a footprint. They look for phone calls. They look for all of these things in order to understand what exactly took place. Because they don't always have a camera that captured the whole incident. They don't always have witnesses that are able to say what they saw. Therefore, many a time, when it comes to historical events, we need to put the puzzle together, because the books don't tell us exactly what happened. Okay, let's look at an analogy. I'll give you an example. You might find an historian. This historian reads in one of the books that there could have been a fire that took place in the 1800s that took over a whole city, burnt a whole city to the ground. They're looking through the books, they can't find anything about this. But what do they find? They find one book says that there was extreme blazes in this city. Okay, that's one book. Another book that says this city extreme many ashes and blazes and it was burnt to the ground. Another book that says this city experienced extreme deaths in that year. It doesn't say that the city experienced extreme fires. But when you put the puzzle together, you take all the clues that you read, you understand that because there were multiple deaths, because there were blazes, there were ashes, you understand that this city could have experienced an extreme fire. I'm not sure if any of you followed the news a while ago. There was a story of a woman that was trialed, that was taken to court because she was accused of killing three of her relatives and attempted murder for one of her relatives. How? By feeding them death cap mushroom, poison mushrooms. This story or this trial took about 2 years. They were trying to understand exactly what happened. Again, nothing was clear, but they put the pieces together. How? Number one, they said that her laptop, she had searched about death cap mushrooms. That's a clue. They took that. Number two, they looked into her phone and they found that her phone had pinged in a location that death cap mushrooms are found. That's another clue. But it still wasn't clear that this woman actually caused the murder of her relatives. These could be a coincidence. They could be due to her unfortunate luck. But then they asked her more questions. They told her, have you ever bought a dehydrator? She lied. She said no. A dehydrator is what's used to dry the mushrooms so that they could be served. Then they found inside her house, they found a manual that was for this dehydrator. Then they found a video of her throwing a dehydrator out. They put all the clues together. They were able to come up with a situation with the crime that actually took place. They were able to understand it. Without this, they would have struggled. With one clue or two clues, they would have struggled. The same way, when it comes to us reading history and understanding the oppression of Fatima Zahra alayha salam, we need to analyze us. For us Shia, it's very clear. We know exactly what took place. But for other people, when they come and question us and they say that this didn't take place, give me a proof. When you are debating other people, then it is very easy to do that. In today's speech, we'll talk about 10 different clues that would lead anyone within the right state of mind. It would lead them to understand that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam was oppressed. And as a side note here, these small clues are extremely important. Why? Some people say that if something is not authentic and not a strong narration with a strong chain of narrators, we should get rid of it, or we shouldn't look into it. No, we should use everything as a piece of evidence. Put them together and try to understand what happened. Don't allow anyone to tell you that something's weak, we don't take this, we don't want this. That's not how you look at events that took place in history. And the scholars use this exact same way to come up with rulings. When you look in the jurisprudential books, Sayyid al-Sistani, Hafidhahullah, says that who is the most knowledgeable person? The most knowledgeable person is not someone that memorizes the narrations and memorizes the rulings. The most knowledgeable person is a person that's able to derive rulings from our books. Now, going back to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, we will talk about these multiple clues that are found in the Sunni books. Again, as I said, we have many narrations in our books, but today we'll look at the narrations found in the Sunni books. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Clue number one. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, when the Holy Prophet was on his deathbed, she was seen crying. The Holy Prophet asked her, why do you cry? Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam says, أخشى الضيعة بعدك. I fear that I will be lost after you. I will be harmed after you. I feel threatened. The Holy Prophet, how did he respond? Did he say, no, don't feel lost. Don't feel the way you're feeling. You're in Medina. You're in between our people. Did the Prophet say this? No, he didn't. What did the Prophet tell her? The Prophet said, he told her how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has compensated her. The Prophet tried to comfort her. He said that, aren't you pleased that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a husband like Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, children like Al-Hasan al-Hussein. The Mahdi is of your children. Aren't you pleased of this? The Prophet did not tell her, no, you'll be okay. The Prophet told her how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given her other blessings. That's number one. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam fearing being lost after the Holy Prophet. Number two, in their books, again, the Prophet warns Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. He says, إن جبرائيل أخبرني أنه ليس امرأة من نساء المسلمين أعظم رزية منك فلا تكوني أدنى امرأة منهن صبرا. That Jibreel has informed me that you will be the most tribulated. You out of all the Muslim women, you will face the most calamities. And this will require an enormous amount of patience. So make sure you are patient. This is what the Holy Prophet tells his daughter. Number one, Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam fears being lost after the Holy Prophet. Number two, the Holy Prophet gives her the warning that she will face the most calamities. Number three, the Holy Prophet tells Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam that after him will be great trials. And he tells Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam that if he could, he should remain peaceful and patient. That's the third clue. That's why when they attacked the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, they knew that Amir al-Mu'mineen was ordered to be patient. And that's why they did what they did. Otherwise, they would not have the courage to enter the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and do what they did. They knew that Amir al-Mu'mineen was handcuffed with this will of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's number three. Number four, there was a threat to burn the house of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. In their books, it is narrated and the sources are with me. Whoever wants the sources, they're available. There's a threat. Umar ibn al-Khattab goes to the house of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and calls out. He calls out to Amir al-Mu'mineen and a few companions. He says, if you do not come out of the house, I will burn the house upon you. Fatima Zahra alayhi salam comes to the door and says, will you burn the house, our house, Ya Umar? He says, yes, I will burn it. There is a threat to burn the house of Fatima Zahra and Amir al-Mu'mineen. A threat that took place, and he affirmed it when he was asked by Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. That's number 4. Number 5. It is narrated in Al-Tabari and a few other books that a man, the first Khalifa, he was on his deathbed and he said 3 things. Regrets 3 things. Number 1, he regrets doing 3 things and he wished he did not do it. Number 2, he regrets not doing 3 things. And number 3, he regrets not asking Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi 3 questions. Let's ask, what's one of these things that you did which you wish you didn't do? What does he say? He says, one of those things, وَدَدْتُ أَنِّي لَمْ أَكْشِفْ بَيْتِ Fatima. That I wish I did not uncover the house of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. What does this mean? Uncovering the house. It means entering it without permission. Exposing the house. This is the ruler at the time, saying that he regrets this action. He says that I regret entering the house of Fatima alayhi salam. The culprit himself is incriminating himself. This by itself is enough for us to understand the oppression that occurred upon Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. That's the 5th clue. Number 1 is fearing being lost after Rasulullah, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam says. Number 2 is Rasulullah comforting her and telling her to be patient after him because she will face calamities. Number 3 is the will of Rasulullah to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Number 4, the threat on the house of Fatima. Number 5 is Abu Bakr wishing to not do what he did, which was exposing the house of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. What's number 6? Number 6 is the prophecy of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet said in the narration I started with, he says that when I see her, I remember what? It's as if I see humiliation entering her house, her privacy taken away, her rights usurped, her inheritance denied, her ribs broken, and her unborn child, miscarried. The Holy Prophet told all the Muslims what is going to happen to his daughter Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. That is clue number 6. Clue number 7. And what are we doing here? We said the books have all of this information, but they have made it in a way that seems unclear. And what we are doing now is we are wiping the cloudiness away from this situation. We are understanding this situation more and more. Clue number 7. In their books, it says a door will be broken, and once this door is broken, a door to fitna, to trials will be opened until the day of judgment. They translate this door to be other things. But whose door was broken? Fatima Zahra alayhi salam's door was broken. And if it wasn't for that attack and the usurpation of the Khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, then the Muslims would not have been in the trials that they are facing nowadays. The Muslims will be united. That's number 7. Number 8. Fatima Zahra alayhi salam publicly spoke about her oppression. She went to the mosque of Rasulullah and she gave her famous khutbah, her famous speech known as khutbah al-fadakiyya. She said, يا معاشر النقبة وأعضاد الملة وحضنة الإسلام ما هذه الغميزة في حقي والسنة عن ظلامتي أما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يقول المرء يحفظ في ولده. That's what are you doing, O Muslims? Do you not see what's happening to me? Why is this slumber towards what I am experiencing? Do you not remember the Holy Prophet saying that the person is protected and dignified by looking after their children? Fatima Zahra alayhi salam spoke about this oppression publicly. She did not stay quiet. No one can say that she did not speak for her rights. That's clue number 8. Clue number 9. Fatima Zahra alayhi salam's anger against who? Against the first and the second. Against Abu Bakr and Umar. Their books say, فَوَجَدَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ, that she was angered from them until she died. And she did not speak to them. They came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. They wanted to see Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. They came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. We want to see Fatima. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, I'll ask her for permission. Amir al-Mu'mineen came to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Do you give them permission? Fatima Zahra alayhi salam said, the house is yours and I am your wife. You choose. You make the decision. Amir al-Mu'mineen allowed them to come in. They provided their salams. Fatima Zahra did not respond to them. They tried to speak to her. She did not speak to them. But she said, I will pray upon you in every single prayer that I perform until I am killed. Is this not enough? There is more. Clue number 10. In the Sunni books, it is mentioned by multiple genealogists that Fatima Zahra alayha salam experienced a miscarriage. When? After the martyrdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Some of them even narrate that the third child, the third boy of Ali and Fatima alayhi salam was al-Muhsin, and he was miscarried. Why was he miscarried? Women don't have miscarriages if in a normal situation. There has to be a reason behind it. Everything was normal. Everything was healthy. What happened? Some of them tried to cover it up and say that the miscarriage happened before the Holy Prophet was martyred. That's clue number 10. That there was a miscarriage that Fatima Zahra alayha salam experienced after the martyrdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And clue number 11. Her burial. Until our day today, no one knows where Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is buried. Aisha narrates this in their books. She says that Ali ibn Abi Talib buried Fatima Zahra alayhi salam and prayed upon her without telling the ummah, the nation of that time. Why would Fatima Zahra alayhi salam be buried without anyone knowing? Every single companion, every single Muslim back then, the graves were known. The wives of the Prophet, their graves are known. The big companions, the famous ones, their graves are known. Why is the grave of Fatima Zahra alayha salam not known until our day. That's why when we go and visit the graves of the Ma'soomeen, the graves of the Ahlul Bayt, we go and we send our salams to all of them. But remember, when you go to Medina and you go and send your salams to the Holy Prophet, then don't forget, just because Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is not identified to us, we do not know where it is, don't forget to send your salams to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam when you visit her father. One of the last clues, again, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, it is narrated in all of our books that she used to go to the grave of the Holy Prophet and she used to say these words. She used to say, صبت علي مصائب لو أنها صبت على الأيام صرنا لياليا. That the calamities have been poured upon me, in which if they were poured upon the days, they will become nights. صبت علي مصائب لو أنها صبت على الأيام صرنا لياليا. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة وأهدى ثوابها إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات من شيعة أمير المؤمنين ومن ليس لهم ذاكر، تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.